Hello. So you asked me for a little video about making these boxes. I was going to kind of show you my setup. So this is my little wood shop in my basement. You know, wood shops are always a mess. So the main things with these, obviously I have a table saw. That's a huge help trying to make this stuff. I guess the process really first is figuring out what size you want to make your box. I do box joints, which are what these guys are, and I do miter joints. On the box joints, I use this guy over here, this Incra iBox jig for making box joints. Kind of complicated to use, but it allows you to get those box joints, you know, just absolutely dead on and perfect, right? It has a little adjustment on there, so you can adjust the width of those joints within thousandths of an inch, which, you know, obviously makes that fit just absolutely perfect. When I'm doing the miter joints, I use this. It's another thing from Incra, but they make good shit. This guy right here is a very high quality miter gauge. It rides perfectly in my slots here. It has adjustments that expand outward to make sure that when it's riding in this slot, there's no play back and forth. It's just absolutely perfectly straight down there. Obviously then, to get that to 245-degree angles, obviously you have to readjust your blade. I use these guys over here, some very nice precision triangles. You know, these are expensive, but they are exactly 90 and 45. So if you're trying to do some really precise work, you need something really, really accurate to get the blade tilted just the way you want it. So those are the main tools I use: table saw, miter gauge, and that guy. Obviously, to mill down the lumber, I have a joiner over here and my planer over here. I have a bandsaw over there too, which, you know, you always leave these box joints a little wide and then cut them off with the bandsaw and then sand them down. I have a little router table over here. Obviously that takes care of doing these, you know, the top routing. It's just so much easier. You can see this joint here turns out, you know, really, really sharp, really nice. What I do is I put the pieces together too tall. That way I can send them through my planer, and when they're cut down at the same time, so those joints end up being, you know, kind of nice. And then I finish with this stuff over here. Tung oil works really, really well for that. Now the rolling trays are a different setup. These guys are kind of a bitch to make. I did this freehand. You can buy templates and things. That gets a little complicated. I can get into that if you want, but I use my router with a bit in here that carves this out. So it's got a little radius to it there to make it easy. Obviously, you don't want to put something like that on anything that humans are going to ingest. So you wouldn't want that on there. So I use this butcher block conditioner, which is food safe, food grade stuff, to condition this, but no harsh chemicals or anything like that. It's a lot of beeswax and natural waxes and mineral oil. So food safe. So it's safe to put various herbs and things on. The hardware, if you're doing these, what I always like doing is putting the hinges on the lid first, right? That way you know your hinges aren't going to be too tall or too short. You want to put a piece of paper before you do these hinges. Just put a piece of paper in here and then close the lid. That gives it a little bit of space right here for expansion and contraction, because that wood is going to expand and contract with different humidity levels. So that way it doesn't put too much pressure on those hinges. And then attach these guys to the box. I like screws, not those little nails that you get. So that's what I do. I have a hasp over here. Same thing. I pre-drill all the screws with, I think, a 1/16 inch drill bit. And then I have, for the tray to sit in here, I do runners like this. So that it just sits down in there really nicely. Some people want to do a little dado here, which is a little groove, so you could sit down there, but that makes these walls at the top really, really thin. So I like putting runners here. It holds really well, as you can see. Perfect. So I hope that was helpful. Obviously, let me know if you have any other questions. I'll help you any way I can.